I'm involved in a few different clinical trials. A couple are sponsored by the AIDS Clinical Trials Group, so that is a division of AIDS sponsored clinical trials network that used to work almost exclusively on HIV drug trials, and now they have a lot of trials work in hepatitis as well as tuberculosis. And so I'm involved with a few trials, but two that I'm leading are involving multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. And the one that might be of most interest is that the two drugs that have come onto the market for multi-drug resistant TB are both share a common toxicity, which is QT prolongation. So it's a type of cardiotoxicity. And so both of them are oral drugs. Both of them are really well tolerated. And so we're really hopeful that this two drug combination can be part of a backbone for multi-drug resistant TB treatment, but we just have to make sure that we can use those drugs together safely. And so they're out on the shelf in some places, but they really can't be used together. So we're designing a trial to look at these two drugs in combination for 6 months among patients with MDR-TB, probably only in South Africa. And we'll look at whether or not they're safe to use. So hopefully, if that goes well, then that'll be a new backbone on which we can build an all-oral, less toxic MDR-TB regimen. And then the other is a trial of a higher dose of isoniazid, which is an existing drug for certain types of drug-resistant TB. I also am very fortunate to have an FDA grant from their orphan drugs program, and that's for a new nitromidazole that's being developed by the TB Alliance, so that's the Global Alliance for TB Drug Development, and we're looking at that drug added to first-line treatment to see if it might add to a treatment shortening regimen. So the hope is that eventually we'll get from 6 months for drug-sensitive TB to 4 months, and then maybe 3 months and 2 months, and gradually it'll be much easier for people to take. As you can imagine, people are supposed to take TB drugs by directly observed therapy, so they go to the clinic every day, or the clinic goes to them every day, and so it's a real burden on healthcare systems, and there's a lot of stigma attached to going to see the doctor every day. They know why you're going to the health department every day. There's no other disease you have to go every day to get a treatment for. So we're hopeful that we can gradually get the treatment duration shorter. So that trial is opening this month. It's called the APT trial, so we're excited about that. And it's nice that the FDA Orphan Drugs Program has been supporting trials. This is the third at Hopkins that have been funded through that mechanism, so that's very nice. It's sort of a middle development program. And then the last trial I could tell you about that I'm pretty excited about is for pediatric tuberculosis meningitis. So if TB is a rare disease in the United States, then pediatric TB meningitis is even less common, and it seems to happen in pockets in the world and not in other places. So TB is endemic in a lot of places, but it's just relatively uncommon that this manifestation of TB happens in certain places and not in others. But it generally affects children 0 to 5, so very young children. It's a very severe form of TB, and the mortality is 20 to 50%. So it's really very terrible disease, and the WHO guidelines for treatment are the same as for pulmonary TB, except you just extend the duration of treatment. But we think that we could do better by taking into account which drugs enter the blood-brain barrier easily and which drug, and optimizing the doses of existing drugs and using different combinations so that we can treat children better. So this is a clinical trial that will be in India and Malawi, and is funded by NICHD, so the National Institute of Children's Health and Development at NIH, and so focused on pediatric TB and really the most severe form of TB that affects children. So we're hopeful we can reduce mortality, and then we can also reduce morbidity, because a lot of the children really are left with neuropsychological disabilities as well as neurologic disabilities, and so our hope is that we can do better and that we've found a way to do better.